If you think sitting on the couch, scrolling on your phone is rest, this is exactly why you are still waking up exhausted. We have been sold a lie about relaxation. We believe that by physically stopping our bodies, our minds will automatically follow suit. But have you ever noticed that after 2 hours of browsing social media, you feel more drained than when you started? You didn't run a marathon. You didn't solve complex equations. You barely moved a muscle. Yet your brain feels like it's been running in overdrive. That's because, biologically speaking, it has.
Think about your typical Sunday. You aim to do absolutely nothing to recover from the work week. You lie in bed, you binge watch a series, you check every notification. By the time Monday morning arrives, you aren't refreshed. You are foggy, irritable, and arguably more tired than you were on Friday evening. This isn't just a feeling, it's a physiological state. Your brain has been trapped in a specific neural loop that consumes massive amounts of glucose, leaving you with zero reserve fuel for the things that actually matter.
Let's look at the biology. Your brain represents only about 2% of your total body weight, yet it voraciously consumes 20% of your body's total energy intake. It is the most expensive organ you possess. Most people assume that this energy is only used when we are solving problems or focusing on a task. But neuroscience reveals a startling truth. The brain does not shut down when you stop focusing. In fact, when you go passive, a massive hidden network comes online, and it is hungry.
This hidden network is called the default mode network, or DMN. Discovered by neuroscientists who noticed that the brain was surprisingly active even during rest periods in MRI scans, the DMN is the brain's autopilot. It is the network that activates the second you stop focusing on the external world. When you zone out, wait in line, or yes, mindlessly scroll through your feed, the DMN lights up like a Christmas tree. And contrary to what you might think, maintaining this state is incredibly energy-intensive. So, what is the default mode network actually doing? It is responsible for self-referential processing. In plain English, it's thinking about you. It replays memories from the past, it simulates scenarios for the future, it worries about what others think of you, and it judges your standing in the social hierarchy. It is the voice of the narrator in your head that never shuts up. While this was evolutionarily useful for social survival, in the modern world, it has become a battery drainer.
Here is where the trap lies. Social media is the ultimate fuel for the default mode network. When you scroll, you aren't really learning or focusing. You are in a passive state where you are constantly bombarded with information about other people. This triggers the DMN to work overtime, comparing your life to theirs, judging appearances, and processing social signals. You think you are relaxing, but your brain is running a high-speed marathon of social comparison and judgment, burning through your glucose reserves rapidly.
Neuroscience shows us that the brain operates on a seesaw mechanism. On one side, you have the default mode network. On the other, you have the task-positive network, or TPN. The TPN is active when you are fully focused on a specific task, writing, playing a sport, or solving a puzzle. The crucial discovery is that these two networks are anti-correlated. When you fully engage the TPN through focus, the energy-draining DMN is forced to shut down. You literally cannot stress about yourself and be in a state of deep focus at the same time.
This explains why doing something difficult often feels more restful than doing nothing at all. This is the state of flow. When you are lost in a hobby, a book, or a challenging project, you enter a state of high cognition but low self-referential stress. You stop thinking about your problems because your brain resources are reallocated to the task at hand. You emerge from 2 hours of painting or coding feeling clear-headed, whereas 2 hours of scrolling leaves you feeling heavy. When we fail to switch off the DMN, we fall into rumination. This is the background anxiety you feel. It's your brain trying to solve problems that don't exist yet, replaying awkward conversations from 5 years ago, or worrying about next week's meeting. Passive activities like watching TV or scrolling often aren't engaging enough to switch on the task-positive network, so the DMN runs in the background, unchecked, consuming energy while you stare blankly at a screen. It is the worst of both worlds.
So, how do we actually rest? How do we stop the energy leak? We need to understand that true rest requires quieting the default mode network without necessarily forcing high-intensity focus. We are looking for soft fascination. Nature is the best example of this. Walking in a forest or looking at the ocean engages the brain enough to distract it from self-judgment, but not enough to fatigue it. It creates a neutral zone where the DMN can finally power down.
Mindfulness meditation is not just spiritual woo-woo. It is a clinical tool for DMN regulation. Studies show that experienced meditators have significantly reduced activity in the default mode network. They have trained their brains to catch the mind when it starts to wander into self-referential chaos and gently bring it back to the present moment. By anchoring yourself in the now, your breath, your sensations, you cut the power supply to the exhausting narratives in your head.
You need to replace passive consumption with active leisure. This sounds counterintuitive. Doing things to rest? Yes. Engaging in low-stakes, tactile activities like cooking, gardening, puzzles, or playing an instrument creates a bridge. It occupies the mind enough to silence the inner critic, but is relaxing enough to restore dopamine levels naturally. You aren't achieving anything for work. You are simply being. This is the sweet spot for neurological recovery. When you start practicing DMN regulation, the change is profound. You stop waking up tired. The brain fog lifts. You realize that you have significantly more mental energy than you thought. It was just being siphoned off by background anxiety and digital noise. You become more present, more creative, and ironically, more productive, all because you learned how to truly do nothing, rather than pretending to do nothing while your brain ran a marathon.
Your energy is your most valuable currency. Don't spend it on a network that drains you without your permission. Step away from the screen, engage with the physical world, and give your brain the permission to truly switch off. Real rest isn't about inactivity, it's about intentionality. Master your default mode network, and you won't just rest better, you will live better. Start today.
To overcome your fatigue, you must ruthlessly eliminate false rest. This means setting boundaries. If you have 30 minutes to spare, don't immediately reach for your phone. That's a trap. Instead, sit in silence for 10 minutes. Let your mind wander without the visual input of a screen, or read a physical book. The lack of blue light and the lack of rapid information processing allows your brain chemistry to rebalance.